What's out from Cultaholic, you are a sexual wank pheasant, and welcome to all these WTF moments from Friday's episode of SmackDown Live. And wasn't this an episode of SmackDown that happened? You would think with it being the go-home edition of SmackDown for the bloody massive Elimination Chamber 2020 pay-per-view would be doing some good things to hype up a pay-per-view. Quite frankly, they're heading into the thing nobody gave a toss about. But nothing got you out your seat, did it? Yes, Kevin Nash had an absolute zinger to throw right at the ginger beard of one Sami Zayn. Yes, Tucky was amazing in the main event, even though I still do not trust that cockwomble. But outside of that, what happened? Nothing. Intro. WTF! And I cannot believe they started this episode of SmackDown by highlighting, beyond any shadow of any doubt, what a hip-hop a hypocrite John Cena was. After watching that promo from John Cena on last week's episode of SmackDown, somebody backstage must have taken a step back and realised John Cena, the hypocrisy of the man. He backtracked so far, so hard on his own words, he thought his name was the prototype once again. Because he went back through time and whatnot, he backtracked that hard. And I find this all the more amazing, the hypocrisy from John Cena, of course, because I saw an interview with him recently where he spoke of his regret about the angle he took in that once or twice in a lifetime feud with The Rock back in 2011 and 2012, because of course, as we stand here in 2020, John Cena is The Rock from 2011, the movie star coming back to the company, blah 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 blah. Now I don't know if John Cena realised he was doing it, but he painted himself to be a massive hypocrite during that promo. The opening to this week's SmackDown had a promo package all about that promo, so WWE wanted you to spot the hypocrisy, and oh my tits, John Cena's turned heel, hasn't he? The end is nigh, time to run away, the end is nigh. Made a grave mistake, Corey. And we have a direct quote from one Corey Graves this time when he said the Fiend convinced John Cena to change his WrestleMania plans. Convinced, Corey? Convinced! So now I'm going to play the part of both the Fiend and then John Cena. Here's a dramatic reenactment that shows the Fiend convincing John Cena to change his WrestleMania plans. Oh my God, Wyndham Rotunda, what a fantastic point you make. Let me ponder this earth-shattering decision about WrestleMania 36 for absolutely no time whatsoever. However, man, John, you're better than this, man. You're showing the same levels of willpower that I have around the cake. Because I love the cake and I cannot resist the cake. And you can't resist WrestleMania, even though you said you were going to, you bastard. And then we learned that Nikki Cross's favourites, that's a direct quote right there, are the Bella Twins. And I'm making this a WTF moment quite simply because I did not see that coming. Did you? Nikki Cross's favourites are the Bella Twins. So then we have Alexa Bliss, who was told by the people who put together the shows for WWE to say, hey Kabuki Warriors, didn't you know that the women's tag team titles are supposed to be defended on all of the brands? Of course, the same people who told Alexa Bliss to say that line there are the same people who still call the 24/7 title the 24/7 title, even though, as last week's Raw completely rubber-stamped, even though last week's Raw and how we had to have it clarified that Riddick Moss was defending the title against Ricochet for that one match, which means the title should be renamed the 3-1 title. 3 minutes, 1 day a week. That's all we see it. Anyway, that's besides the point, because the real WTF moment here is supposed babyface Alexa Bliss, a role model, a woman that the older men bowling for soup fetishize our. She's a bloody liar. She's a hypocrite like John Cena. Are you pleased, John? Look at what you're doing to the rest of the roster. Because as we all know, Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross were the women's tag team champions for a time. And where did they defend the titles? You're probably asking, Ross. Well, I did a Google and I found out. They defended their titles at SummerSlam, on a Raw, at Clash of Champions, and then lost them at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view that didn't exist if you ask Michael Cole. That title reign is still bothering me. So Alexa, what about SmackDown? What about NXT? What about NXT UK? That's the best one. But it's a larger point, isn't it? They just need to get rid of these women's tag team titles, don't they? They don't mean a thing. Just start making them mean something. Is it that hard? Now, as if WWE do not watch Cultaholic, as they had Nikki Cross, a living, breathing Scottish woman, ask X-Pac, do we call you Six? Now, if you're sat at home wondering, Ross, what is the issue here? Just go and ask my good pal Jennifer Louise what the issue is there, right? Because with her accent, when she says the word six, it sounds like she's saying a rude word. WWE do not have old men crap on the superstars of today, both verbally and physically, when they had the chance to. I mean, as I said at the top of the video, Kevin Nash's zinger right at Sami Zayn. Fantastic stuff. Scott Hall was just taking the piss. He was collecting that paycheck and not giving a hoot. That is a mood or something the kids might say. But they let Sami and Shinsuke and Cesaro leave the ring of their own accord. I didn't know what's real anymore. Am I alive, Mom? The end is nigh, the end is nigh. Time to run away, the end is nigh. And then we have that bloody pesky glitch happening during a women's match this time. Now, I read the internet before watching SmackDown, and a few people were speculating that the glitch was always when Dolph Ziggler was on screen. Well, he's not there, so that's why I'm making a WTF moment, alright? Obligatory mention of WWE stance on Bayley's current SmackDown Women's Championship reign. First of all, because I don't think Michael Cole mentioned it on this week's SmackDown. And secondly, because Michael Cole should have mentioned it on this week's SmackDown, because if he did so, this would have been the first time ever in this little run of getting the stats wrong every single week that Michael Cole would have been right. Yes, this is the week finally where Bayley actually overtook Charlotte's actual longest reign as SmackDown Women's Champion. That was 146 days. Bayley overtook that, and Michael Cole didn't even mention it. I don't think so. He might have done. I'm half asleep still, clearly. But finally, the pain is over, and you can tune into WTF Moments again, knowing fine well I'll never mention that thing again. Naomi with those precision kicks, said Michael Cole. Look up what precision means, Maggle, because what Naomi was doing there, that ain't it, Chief. Now, if that scene there was on one of the early SmackDown games, I would have been hearing. So one question, of course, why is it not saying there? Because as we all know, SmackDown with the exclamation point, and SmackDown 2, know your role, they can do no wrong. Now, I went to WrestleMania 33. I was there in the crowd. I wasn't there in the crowd for last year's WrestleMania, but I logged onto Twitter and saw the fallout during the Randy Orton versus AJ Styles match. Because of blinding pissing lights, they choose to shine into the crowd to make the shot of the crowd look a bit more pretty, but blind everybody in the crowd while they do so. Look at what I saw for much of WrestleMania 33. If I paid my own money for a ticket, I would have been pissed off more than I was anyway. But the song title they have chosen for this year's WrestleMania could be quite apt, unless they change the way they light the crowd. Just in case you are going to this year's WrestleMania, take 2 pairs of sunglasses and 2 hats. Double protection. So we go to commercial break, we come back, we see Sasha Banks and Bayley talk some words, we then go back to the ring and see Sheamus standing there like he is there, and the absolute piss takers of WWE are playing his Too Many Limes theme. They were really. Now, I'm making this a WTF moment not only because Too Many Limes is not Sheamus's theme as we're stood here in 2020, but also because he appeared on everybody's favourite WWE show, The Bump, because he appeared on that bollocks and revealed that he wanted to bring back Too Many Limes as his theme for his return at the start of this year. But the company told him they don't remember this song. I was told it was outdated, they said. I mean, I prefer Hellfire, his current theme, to Too Many Limes, so I don't think Sheamus is missing out on too much. But to play that theme after saying that to him when it's complete bollocks to begin with? Arseholes. There's a Dana Brooks sign. There's a Dana Brooks sign. After that opening promo, after the old men not completely obliterating the young men, and now this episode of SmackDown's too much. The end is nigh, the end is nigh, time to run away, the end is nigh. And then we have Michael Cole saying that Mandy and Dolph are now an item. But when Michael Cole said that, my immediate thought was, Mandy did not know about the text she apparently sent Otis about being late for their date. When that arsehole Sonya Deville told Mandy that Dolph Ziggler is way more of a Mandy Rose guy than Otis is, Mandy looked like she didn't agree with that statement. It looked like this story was going one way. But now, without any rhyme or reason, it's going off in a completely different direction. Only for later on in this WTF Moments video, we'll talk about it going back in the original direction. They haven't got a pissing clue what they're doing with this story, and I'm confused. How hard is it to tell a story, man? And speaking of that bastard Sonya Deville, and I've got to say, I'm only calling her a bastard, in other words that I use, because she said that a fat man wasn't a Mandy Rose kind of guy. Well, let me tell you, pal, we're too much for you to handle. But she grabbed her head after that move there. And considering what she said about Dolph Ziggler and our beacon of hope, the fat man's beacon of hope, Otis, no wonder she hasn't got a clue what she's doing, or hasn't got a clue about anything that she's saying at all. Bray Wyatt has short-term memory loss confirmed. And I say this because during that Firefly Fun House episode on this week's SmackDown, yes, he made mention of the match against John Cena at WrestleMania 6 years ago, but he made absolutely no mention whatsoever of losing the Universal Championship to Goldberg at Super Showdown 8 days earlier. I still can't believe that happened. Now, I know the Fiend Bray Wyatt's character is all about getting revenge on people who wronged him in the past, but it's also about being really bloody scary and power and taking possession of things and repossessing people and making things change and whatnot. So the fact he's not even bothered in the slightest about losing a possession, a Universal Championship title, is really pissing jarring. I don't know about you. Jarring is heard there. Pissing jarring. Piss jar. So then we learned that Mandy Rose was pissed off about being stood up, as she called it, by Otis. But of course, I bring you back to that segment backstage where she was really confused about the text message that she supposedly sent to Otis saying that she was late. What text she said when Tucky, I think it was, mentioned it to her. So there's a big gap in this story, isn't there? Why isn't Mandy asking more questions about the text that really puzzled her a few weeks ago on SmackDown? She was really confused about this thing, but now, a few weeks later, with that particular gap not filled in at all, she's like, oh well, aye, that thing happened. Oh well. I didn't get the date with the man of my dreams for reasons I don't understand, but oh well, it happened. And speaking of the glitch, once again, this is not the first time that thing there has appeared in a segment where both Mandy and Dolph, I'm doing that too much, aren't I? Well, those two have appeared on screen at the same time. What could it mean? I don't know. But taking things back a second or two, we have Mandy looking very concerned about Otis, who 20 minutes earlier, she said she was pissed off at because she didn't like being stood up by men. What is she doing? Hey, she's taken us in so many directions during the course of one episode of SmackDown. She is an item with Dolph. She is pissed off at Otis. Now she's concerned. What's going on? Vince McMahon likes big sweaty men. Vince McMahon likes big sweaty men. I mean, Christ, I do as well. And I guess we've got to end these WTF moments for the go-home edition of SmackDown for the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view by asking Sheamus and Lacey Evans, are you on drugs? Why did you both say on episodes of SmackDown in the past that you were going in the chamber when there was no chamber for you to go into? Or if you want to peel back the curtain a bit here and take these WTF moments out of the kayfabe, WWE, why did you think that potentially booking 2 more chamber matches would have been a good idea for a card where there is already 2 chamber matches? 4 chamber matches on one night was never ever going to be a good idea. So why, judging on those promos from Lacey and Sheamus, was that a consideration you were making? You bastards. You've made those two look like dicks when it's actually you dicks behind the scenes who are the dicks. I'm a dick